Hey, Nehal, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you doing? Even though I
Yeah, we
saw
don't
you
normally
like
greet
two
each other
hours ago.
like this. It seems quite funny.
No, we don't. I don't even think we greet each
I
other. We
don't
just
think we've
message each
ever greeted
other.
each other formally at all.
No, we don't really say hi. We just message each other like, can you do this? Or have you done this?
We. Joking. So yeah, I'm just so excited that we are actually doing this because it's something we've spoken about for such a long time, and it's been a pipe dream for so long, and finally we've decided to take action. So it's a passion project that we're both really connected to. So we're just going to get stuck in. Let's start right at the beginning, right? Because we've obviously I had 3.5 years before you came along, but beyond that, we've kind of had this a shared a journey together. Let's talk about what it was like growing up as an Asian child or a child of Asian heritage, but parents kind of grew up in Africa. Do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I think it's a funny one because with our parents, one is from Kenya and one is from Sudan, and both grew up with incredibly different cultures and languages. So dad, I'm not sure if he was ever fluent in Swahili, but I'm sure he might claim he is, but I don't think he is. So he might say the odd words in Swahili, whereas mum had to learn Arabic at school, used to read, write, and still speaks the language. And, with our mum's side, they're all fluent in Arabic, and that is their code language when they don't want us to know what they're talking about. So I think because we had that mix, and that's quite a unique mix, our experience was probably a little bit different growing up. Like, do you remember at home, mum would use words and we used to think they were Gujarati words. And actually, then we would go to school and we would say, oh, if we said things like thalaja, we would think that's fridge in Gujarati when actually it's an Arabic word. So I think I remember having those discrepancies, which only now I realize was a really unique situation because I don't actually know that many kind of Kenya and Sudan combination of parents.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a fair few, but yeah, not that many. But I know exactly what you mean. And it was actually much later that you started to join the dots to realize words that we thought were part of our mother tongue, which was an Indian language, Gujarati, were actually in fact from Arabic words that had just been kind of fused into our colloquial speak. It's just amazing. And I just think that's really amazing. And I wonder whether that's got anything to do with why I loved learning languages. Actually, if I wasn't a dentist, I
Mm.
probably would have done something
You
linguistic.
were really good at languages.
I love
You
language.
did French and Spanish, didn't you?
I
Well, I
did.
basically copied you. I should know what you did. Yeah, yeah. Mum was really good at. Mum is really good at languages.
Yeah,
Um,
I think what I remember growing up though, I also remember going to school. Often we'd have henna on our hands because of a festival or a wedding. And I remember the school teacher calling me out and just saying, "Oh, Tejal, that's really interesting. Can you stand in front of the class and uh, tell us what this is and how, you know?" And I remember now like reflecting, and I have no idea what I said. I think I was a bit like, "Oh, okay," like kind of just thrust, into it. But actually, there were not many people who looked like us where we went to school. Our nursery, our primary school, junior school. There were a few other Asian families. Obviously, you get to know them very quickly because it's very obvious who they were. But apart from that, I think I always grew up with the sense of I'm different. And because I didn't look the same, I think we spoke a different language at home. Food was different at home, always like being raised vegetarian, like when you had like a school event or a school party or a party from somebody at school, like, it was a big deal to, communicate our dietary needs. And so your food was always separated, or brought out earlier. And so you've always just got these little things kind of, I think in my mind, may have fed into this whole notion being like, you're a little bit different to everyone else. And then obviously when you hit puberty and you have like, all the bodily hair and all the boys are like, "Oh, why are your legs so hairy?" And that was
why
just
do
like,
you have one eyebrow? I remember our hair growth was crazy, like generally. And I think this is the thing with Asians, right? Like, also, I realized that I used to think only we had hair. Like when I was younger, all
Hmm.
my friends, I couldn't, I could not see any hair. And then I realized it's because it's like blonde or it's really, really light. They have hair, but A, the growth is less, and B, obviously this is a massive generalization, and B, you just can't see it. Whereas for us, you can see every little hair that sprouts out of your skin. And I remember that really, really well. I remember being really self-conscious about it. I'm pretty sure I got bullied because of hair growth.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
So did I.
Absolutely. I remember it so clearly as well. Like you just remember, I remember the exact guy, like what his name was, what he said, and it kind of sticks with you, but it also does make you a bit stronger.
Yeah, I hated summertime because it was the summer dress season, and I'd always try to mask
Yeah.
my hair. So those long
Long
socks up to
socks.
your knees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Fully, fully. I was wearing proper long socks right to my knees just to, get maximum coverage.
Yeah,
Um,
but then you'd have like sports where you'd have to wear shorts, and that was just like that was
yeah.
horrific.
Oh, yeah, and our arms are just open. My arms are really hairy as well. But actually, talking of hair, I don't really do anything to my arms, and I'm fine with it.
I've embraced that actually
Yeah.
element of I mean this is kind of going on a bit of a divergent, but I just don't feel like, women have, or Asian women have this expectation they have to be silky smooth all the time. I'm sorry, but the actual bodily hair serves a function, an evolutionary function, scientific function, a physiological function. So there's no need, and maybe that's just a little being a feminist in me. I'm just like, you know
Yeah,
what, it's a choice.
absolutely.
If I want to do it, I will do it, but I'm not going
Yeah.
to do it because I feel like that is what is expected, or what is expected of me. But going back to school days, I think we both kind of like, I remember saying this, but just thinking this is I didn't even pronounce my name correctly until I was at
Mm.
university.
I
Um,
don't think I say your name correctly either. I call you Tejal.
Not at home.
No, I think I do, don't I? No,
Okay,
maybe at home it's Tejal. Tejal, but I know I say Tejal. Like I call myself Nehal. When people say, "Oh, how did I pronounce your name?"
yeah.
Especially when I'm on podcasts or whatever, I say, "Oh yeah, Nehal. Yeah, Nehal's fine." When actually I know, Mum, Dad, you, Kushal, everyone says Nehal, Nehal.
Yeah, so I never made that distinction that my name was pronounced differently at home to how everybody outside home in terms of like neighbors and school teachers and friends used to
Hmm.
say my name. And so I just got accustomed to hearing my name as Tejal. And so I was literally unconsciously introducing myself as Tejal through even secondary school, where we had a lot more Asian um like peers. So they also just called me Teja, and so they do to this day because that is how like I told them to call me. And literally the penny dropped when I was at university, and I think doing a very a brown course, all your course mates are mainly brown, and some people just inherently knew how to say my name, so they used to just call me Tejal or Tej, and I think I don't know. At some point, I realized, oh yeah, that is my name, and you can say it. So
Hmm.
why am I getting you to call me Tejal? Like that's not
Hmm.
actually my name. But I never actually corrected people who called me Tejal. I kind of just rolled with it. I wasn't very much like, no, this is how you should say it. But I think now I'm very universal in terms of my name is Tejal. But even actually, that is not right either, because when you translate it in Gujarati, or when you write it in the Gujarati script,
Hmm.
there's two different types of T's. There's a hard T, ter, and the soft T, which is not in the English language, like pronounced the. So I actually should be pronouncing my name as Tejal, but I don't know.
Tejal. Tejal. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll make a conscious effort to say that. But actually, I interestingly haven't. It's almost like I know that my name is Nehal, Nehal, but I just haven't been correcting people. But going forward, I think maybe I will pay more heed to it, like pay more attention to it,
I
and do.
think now, because
It's
we see
important.
it is, and we see patients from all different backgrounds. Like I actually make a point to if I'm not sure how to pronounce their name, to get them to tell me how do you say your name, and that's a great icebreaker, number one. But number two, I think it's just respectful, isn't it?
Agree.
And it's an
Agree.
opportunity to learn about another culture. It just opens a whole segue into discussing other uh, topics related to heritage.
Yeah. I mean, one also, another incident that I remember at school, and actually this is also quite powerful because we can also spread our culture and showcase things that are unique to our culture. So I remember, do you remember Mum used to pack us like huge lunches because she just wanted us to be like, you know, have ridiculous BMI.
Healthy.
Health, oh yeah, yeah, healthy with
Healthy.
inverted commas, yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember once, it must be after Diwali or Diwali. Again, see, I always say Diwali, whereas at home it's Diwali. So after that, Mum had packed me a laddu, which is basically an orange ball of like sugar. That's really tasty. And I'm sure I used to like go through loads of them when I was younger. And now I don't have any refined sugar, lol. So with the laddu, I was eating it. And obviously, you know, when you're having lunch and you're sitting on that long table with people next to you and opposite you, they were like, "Oh, what's that? What are you eating?" And at this point, I just got so tired of explaining what it was. I'm pretty sure I was like, "This is Indian carrot cake," which is absolutely incorrect because there's no carrot whatsoever in this orange ball. And I just remember thinking, like, it just came out and it was just so incorrect. And I thought, I just honestly couldn't be bothered to explain what it was. And actually, in hindsight, I probably should have explained it. But I honestly remember being like, this is Indian carrot cake. Would you like some?
But then there's always
And
that.
everyone's like, oh no. Like, it looks so strange, right?
Yeah, but I think there's also because going back to feeling different, I think you've also put this little you have this in a compulsion to try and fit in with people. So you're trying to like kind of dim down or dampen down your differences. School was yeah, interesting. I think we had a really happy
We did.
ex
I loved going to
overall.
school. I love going to our school there. And actually, it was funny because when we went to senior school, we actually got homework and we got work to do. Whereas our junior school and I have no idea what we did in primary school, junior school, nursery. It was just 100% fun. I
Yeah.
remember just coloring and like cutting stuff and just playing outside and it was just really fun. And then I got to senior school and I got a homework diary and I was like, what is this?
And then we got obsessed with the homework diary.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Honestly, it
Like
was
it
like
took
our
it
best friend.
into well into our adult life
Yeah,
beyond the school as well. And anyways. The other thing was about this whole compulsion to fit in. So often when teachers would be curious about your background, and they would ask you, so, you know, what religion do you follow? And my natural reaction would be to say our religion. And I knew it was Jane. So I said, I'm Jane. But they would think I didn't understand the question. So they'd be like, no, 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 what religion are you? Are you Hindu or Sikh? And then I didn't know any better to be able to say, no, I'm Jane, and that is another Eastern religion. Like, I don't know, I was probably 7 or 8 at the time. So I just said, yeah, I'm Hindu. Um, and which is factually incorrect, and that's not the faith that we follow at home. But I just that's how you kind of like trying to put sort of fit into this sort of box in a way. It was very difficult, I think, to really kind of truly represent who we were then because you knew you were different, but at school you're trying to fit in. So
yeah,
you just sort of kind of go along with things as well. But that is a conversation I know I'm much more comfortable with now, but even growing up, it was a bit difficult. Or I would say, you know, when people say, "Oh, you're Jane, what's that?" Like, or you know, they'll just not be not out of it, not out of ignorance, but just generally they would just be like, "Oh, I've never heard of
they
that."
just
Like,
don't.
what?
Yeah, they've never heard of it. And it is
And
such a small religion compared to
it's a complete yeah. It's
Hinduism.
about like what 1% of the whole of population,
Yeah,
or
and
maybe less
actually
than that.
it's more aligned to Buddhism than it is to Hinduism, right? So it's that's usually how I try and explain it
Yeah.
now when I explain it. Um, but and I think one thing something just came into my head. Going back to us growing up, I think one thing that I'll be really grateful for is learning Gujarati, so our
Mm,
mother tongue. And
mm.
I distinctly remember mum would be like, I'm not going to reply to you if you speak to me in English. She was literally like, you speak to me in Gujarati, I'm not going to reply to you. And it's only now that we're able to converse and have conversations with Nanny when Nanny was here and when Nana was here, and also the elderly in our family that you realize the value of it.
Yeah, and I think the two biggest gifts I am super grateful for. One of them is knowing that in a mother tongue, being able to understand it and speak it, and possibly just about get by reading and writing it.
We still need to do a Gujarati GCSE,
I
Tejal.
know we said we'd gift mum that for
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Except we'll probably
so
get a D or an E, but you know, it's fine.
it's the gesture, isn't it, more than the
Yeah,
grade.
exactly.
But yeah, no, going back to that, I think I didn't actually appreciate that until much later as well. And it's just like when
Mm.
you're in India and you're trying to get around in India, or especially around Gujarat, being able to have a command of the language, just allows you to be able to be a bit more comfortable and travel around and get things done and get around. But also it gives you a sense of, like, I know I'm always going to be an NRI. Like I'm not going to be, I'm still going to stand out and I'm not going to be integrated completely,
NRI is,
non-resident Indian.
yeah.
Um, but I think it just breaks barriers, and it gives you a little bit of a sense of belonging, I feel. But I think, but by far, it's also been so valuable to be able to have a proper conversation with elders in the community and beyond who don't speak English or speak very, very basic English. But the second gift is a gift of faith, I think, has been something that I think I could probably speak for both of us, has been something that's really kept us grounded throughout our lives.
Mm.
And over time, we've kind of gone on our own sort of spiritual journeys to delve deeper and seek more. And being able to read Gujarati has certainly helped me with that journey. But it's just, yeah, it gives me a real sense of connection. I think to myself, but even when I'm in India and you spend time with Jain communities, other Jain communities, it really, when you realize, oh my goodness, like you know that prayer too, and oh these sort of rituals, or you say this too, and it's just automatically there's like this sense of
Mm.
camaraderie, I suppose, which is
Yeah, the power of community is immense. Like I remember my favorite part of say the holiest Jain festival, Pariyushan, the last day we have really big prayers. Well, we have prayers every day, but the last day is like a really, really significant day. And during those prayers that happen every day and on the last day, you know, like right at the end, everyone says the prayer together. I just literally, there's times where I just don't even mouth it. I just close my eyes and just absorb all that, those sound waves and energy. And it's so, so powerful. It's like something shifts inside of you. And yeah, a community it's so, so important. And I think we've really seen the power of faith with Nana, our granddad, because I think that really was one thing that he was so staunch about. That was literally his weapon to life.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's really nicely said, actually, because he's obviously gone through incredible challenges and incredible lows. Losing a son, losing your spouse, losing all your siblings along the way, your friends, and to the age that he got to, there wasn't very many people around that, of his age kind of left. And
Which was 93. He got to
yeah, he
93.
had a great innings.
Amazing.
And but the one constant, like through his, observing him since I've been born, was his discipline when it came to following his faith, and how, he was so strict with his diet, and the way he, used to pray regularly as well, pretty much on a daily basis. And interestingly, I was doing the prayer that he used to do on a daily basis today, because we are in the Jain week as we're recording this. And I actually thought of him because as well, as part of this prayer, we have to wear, I would call, a modified face mask. As just the theory behind this is that we don't want to harm any insects, or if they get near us, so we don't want to ingest them by accident. So you put like a handkerchief, which is modified into a face mask to prevent that. And normally we hold this handkerchief like manually, but I remember like he used to tie it around his ears, so he was hands free. And so for years I've just been holding it, and I just kept meaning to, I need to, get it affixed in a way so I don't need to keep holding it. And I actually got did that for this year. And so I've just been clipping it on my ears. And every time I do that, I just visualize him sitting in his chair, like, dressed to have, kitted out to do this prayer with that face mask on. And it's obviously got a technical name called a mupati, but so I feel
Yeah.
I really feel that kind of his presence really strongly during that time. How
Which
do
is
you
really nice.
how do you connect to or feel connected to our grandmother, Nanny?
Do you know what? That's really hard because the memories I have of Nanny are somewhat limited because I think I was 10 when Nanny passed away. So my memories of Nanny I remember really random things, like cousins having a sleepover with Nana and Nanny once. Do you remember? And we're all
Yeah.
like squeezing into one bed. It was really fun. Or like, at the Ridgeway house, having Nanny would always give me like the sugar-coated almonds. And she would literally oblige to anything. I'd be like, Nanny, I want this, Nanny, I want this. And it was just like I'd get it. So
Yeah.
I always remember her being very soft, very kind. It's exactly how you'd imagine a grandma. Whereas
Yeah. Do you know
Nana in
what?
my head Nana was strict. Like you don't mess with Nana in photos. You know how Nana just like used to stand
Super
there,
serious but you know
really
why
serious.
why it's the case though, because historically they wouldn't have access to a camera, so if they were going to get pictures taken they'd have to go to a studio. so
Hmm.
so when you're in the studio and they have this thing rolling, like it takes minutes to just capture one image, like I'm not going to go into the technicalities because I don't know them, but so you just don't know when it's going to capture the image, or it's doing it over a really long period of time. So no one really smiles, and hence when you see these family portraits, everybody's got like a neutral
Hmm.
face or a serious face, and that's the reason. And so I think he always associated taking a picture, probably, I presume, to back then. So he didn't realize we'd
Yeah.
always have to nudge him to like smile.
But I also love how he'd always be in a suit. Like to go to a doctor's appointment, he'd be in a suit. Like whenever he's leaving the house, it's,
Oh, when he'd
suited,
travel, yeah,
booted.
he'd be suited, booted with a briefcase, like he's going to meet the Queen. But then you realize it was such a big deal when air travel became a thing. Because remember when they used to travel,
It was steamer.
it was steamer, it was boats. That was the norm when you're traveling between countries. So when air travel started to become more accessible, like it was a huge deal.
Mm.
Um, and so I think maybe, just dress for the occasion.
Yeah, and also I remember he used to have that briefcase and he would not give that to anyone. That was his like hand luggage and he would not give it to anyone. Absolutely no one. That only stayed with him. So when he'd get the wheelchair assistance, like the briefcase is on his lap, I remember this so well. But
Yeah,
also
no.
talking about steamer, I can't remember, was it mum or dad we were talking to, and how when they traveled, they often didn't know, they had no way to contact who was on the other side, and sometimes didn't even know what they looked like because it had been years since they had even met them. So they would just be walking around with this like photo of who they're meant to find.
Yeah, or they
Have
used to
that.
post, I think Dad was saying they used to post photos in preparation for knowing that, oh, they're gonna leave at this point, get to that, point B
Mm,
at this point, and then they know somebody's going to be there to receive them. But so that person recognizes whoever's traveling, they will send pictures, like more up-to-date pictures in advance so they can like spot them, because yeah, often they wouldn't have met. And I think this is a really interesting point because mom and dad grew up in Africa. So I don't feel like, had a really strong connection to their extended family members who were in India, right? So when we were growing up, it wasn't a thing where we would go and spend summers in India or go and
mm,
spend time with family over an extended period of time on a regular basis. Like I remember the first time we went to India, in like factually, was when you were a baby. I was like 3 or 4,
mm,
so I wouldn't count that because I have barely any memories from that. But when we went back, when we were a bit older. I was about 12, you were about 9, 10, but still fairly young. Again, really brief sort of visit. But it's only been, I think, once we've been much more older, we've had more frequent opportunities to go and spend time there. So when you're growing up, you're culturally, we were raised with all the, you know, the Indian culture, but yet we didn't have a strong tie to India. And that was really a little bit
Mm.
confusing.
Yeah, I never had a strong affinity to India. But then I think as we got older, the purpose of our trip started changing. And we now I love going to India. And India really excites me because every single part of India is so different, north to south. And obviously, you've done some of the north, the mountains, which was amazing. I'd love to go up there, but equally, the south is, you know, amazing in its own right. And the food, like the dosa, the idli, like that is totally up my street. So one
I
day.
felt really disconnected from India, and I just found that just such a, you know, just a like a real contradiction, being like, actually, I do call
Mm.
myself British Asian, British Indian. Yeah, I speak the language, you know, festivals, blah blah blah, and we are familiar with a lot of the culture. Um, but
Also,
actually the
when you go
place
to
itself.
India, we stand out. We
But
get
no, but
stared at.
that's yeah,
But I
but
know that's normal because they know we're not Indian, we're NRI.
it's just never going to be. I think that's something I'm cool with. Um, but I feel like, you know, my connection with India has been nurtured over time.
Absolutely. Like
Um,
it's deeper, I think, for
yeah.
sure. And also, I think we're more curious about going to India,
Oh
about
yeah.
exploring it way more than we used to be. But also, you know, for a long time I didn't realize Dad was born in India. Thought that was one big joke. You know how
Yeah,
he
but
was
I mean,
born in
I mean,
India
yeah, he was
and
born
then
there, but
like
he was
he moved in a
literally,
few months.
yeah, he was
Oh,
like a
yeah.
baby. So like yeah, I kind of just don't. I mean, in theory, yes, he was born there, but it has no bearing to, you know, his growing up, I don't think. Whereas
No.
mom actually spent some time in India growing up. So
She
I
spent
think,
about 6 years there, didn't she?
yeah, as a young child, which is still a fair amount of time, I think, which sort of when we've traveled with her to India, like, you know, it's she's much more comfortable being there,
Mm.
getting around, and you know, she can kind of get into that zone really quite.
Basically, she can haggle the best out of all of us.
There's no argument
Just
there.
leave it to mum. Leave it all to mum. Even getting a rickshaw. I remember like trying to get a rickshaw at the side of the street. No one stops for me. As soon as mum puts her hand out or says something, like there's a rickshaw right there.
Yeah, I think when I graduated and I had this big summer before I started my first job, I just had this inner calling where I needed to spend time in India. And I think it was internally, I needed to prove to myself that whether I could stay there for an extended period of time or not. And I think I just had this yearning to connect with it in a way I hadn't before. And I did it. And I remember like it was like, okay, cool, I can do it. I can stay in India.
Mm.
Like, you know,
Mm.
it grows on you because it is such a culture shock when you have grown up in the West and when you do first go there, like it is, you know, it is a big just a shock to the system in so many ways. But I think with time you can become more desensitized and accustomed and
Mm. I
more comfortable.
remember when we went there, and I'm pretty sure I ate so much sugar that summer that started some decay in my mouth, like early enamel caries, which is stable, by the way. I don't have any fillings for everyone listening. But basically, do you remember Dad used to go and get masala tea in a bag from the
Oh, every morning,
tea
yeah.
man every
Yeah.
morning from the streets? There used to literally be this plastic bag with like hot masala chai in, and it's so sweet, but it was so nice. And we'd all have like a shot of tea in the morning. Do you remember? And then there
Yeah,
was
I
this,
know.
like this Benda shop, like this Indian sweet shop that was very, very famous where we were staying. And I used to literally go get like a box for myself and just snack on it the whole
You
day.
were on like you were in heaven.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it
the
was great. It was
dream.
great.
But what's
Great.
been really interesting, actually, I feel, is about 6 years ago, we were lucky enough to visit Sudan. Thank
Yeah.
you to my good friend who got married there. That was our excuse to make that trip. But and I was so grateful we were able to do that with mom or with all of us together actually, and to be
Mm,
able to like see where she went to school, see her house, you know, meet her extended family. Some of them we'd already met, but a lot of them we hadn't. But I think the biggest thing was actually I could put her into context finally, like all these idiosyncrasies she's got, all of these little things that we're just like, oh, that's so extra, or you don't need, like for example, her obsession with dust. She's always like, I need to cover this because it's going to get dusty, or and you're just like, no, like everything has a cover over it. And you realize it's because she grew up in a place where they were accustomed to having sandstorms. And so when the sandstorms came, they used to cover the entire house with dust and you'd have to clean everything down. So she's almost traumatized by that. She doesn't want to like clean the entire house. So she's like, yeah, has this kind of allergy, like figuratively to dust. And yeah, and just seeing other members of her family do the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting.
Well, it's funny because do you remember before the gathering, before my birthday gathering, I had like a hissy fit about dust and I started wiping the worktops. Do you remember? Earlier this
Oh, this
year.
year, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I
So
mean, yeah.
I know this dust thing. It's like because I've heard it growing up, but yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I'll grow out of it. But the other thing that's really funny, which you touched on, is how siblings also have similar idiosyncratic things about them. And you know, when the cousins get together and we we talk about our parents and we see all the funny things that they do, they're all actually really similar, which is hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's inevitable, isn't it? Like when you like a lot of your personality is shaped by in your early years, right? And it's obviously going to be influenced by the people around you, the people you grow up with. I think little habits and things that you often that you do subconsciously, you've done for your whole life, you don't question where they've come from or whatever. Like they just kind of they're there and you can see that, through
Yeah,
the
no, that
different
trip to
people.
Sudan was great because we've seen Dad's birthplace. We've been to Umrali, right?
Yeah,
And we've been
yeah.
to Kenya and we've been to India, but we'd never been to Sudan. So, we're really grateful that we managed to go there.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's such a big part of our lives in terms of like
yeah.
the food influences from Sudan as well have been a big part of our lives,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
massively, right?
Tushul
And
loves it as well.
sorry?
Tushul loves it as
Oh
well because
yeah,
obviously he's
he's
never
gonna
had fool or adas.
yeah,
So adas is like it's essentially like a lentil. And the way mum makes it is so nice. When I make it, it's so thin and runny, whereas when mum makes it, it's so thick and creamy. And typically you'd have it with kind of rocket olives. Some people put feta cheese on it. What else do they put in others,
and
Kajo?
onion.
Yeah, sprinkle onion on top. And then the other dish is full madammas, which you get at Lebanese restaurants. Um, the fava
Fava,
bean
fava beans, yeah.
and it's just so tasty with sesame oil. We cut cucumber and tomato into it. We put rocket into it. Um, what else do we put into it? Feta cheese as well. Some people put into it.
Yeah.
Olives. Um,
Yeah, and that's been pretty much we've grown up with this sort of kind of food. We probably have it once a week, like pretty much
yeah,
fixed.
yeah,
So what's been really cool actually over the years when you like go through all of this kind of identity crisis, being like, who am I? And what I've learned to embrace is actually we're so fortunate. We get the best of everything. We get the best of the Indian heritage, we get best of the African influences, we get the best of growing up in the West and that as well. And having that kind of connection, and the fact that, we understand a little bit of basic Arabic and know our numbers and the culture and hearing stories about mum growing up there means that we can connect to our patients or the people from like the Arab subcontinent or our other Arabic speaking countries really easily. And I think that's really wonderful as well. It's very unique.
yeah, really, really useful. I remember when we went to Jordan, we used to talk about mum all the time, and they used to be really confused because they were like, "Yeah, but you're this color, so how do you have a relative that's born and raised in Sudan?" And you have to explain it, and then there's like this. It's almost like this unsaid like brother and sisterhood. And it's just yeah, you like you say, it's fantastic, and
I
just dropping
know
an odd word of Arabic it instantly creates a connection and builds a rapport. And it's also such a beautiful language. I
it
always say
really
to
is. It's
mum,
very
I was
poetic
like,
as
Mum,
well.
why didn't you teach us Arabic? And she was like, listen, I teach you English and Gujarati, like, and everything else. Is that not enough? But
I
yeah.
know that would have been a
Uh,
great thing to have in our bow, or a feather in our cap, but it's not too late, I think.
No, it's never too late. Never ever too late.
But it's interesting though, because we've heard it, I can tune into it, and I can pick out certain words, and although I won't be able to know exactly what is being said, I can get the gist of things, I
Yeah, we
think.
can. We
So,
can. Especially
um,
because we've heard Nana speak it as well, our granddad, and also us when our mum siblings, when we were younger and they were together and talking in Arabic, I distinctly remember. And they'll use little words. And also mum, like we know all of mum's words that she's gonna use.
yeah, can I just say actually going to Sudan, I was meeting just the kindest people, and this was before all the political upheaval started, so we were really
Mm.
fortunate we went when we did. But I've traveled quite a bit, right? Both of us have, but I've never been to a country where you're paying someone money, like for example, I remember being in a taxi and we're giving
Yes.
somebody paying him for our taxi ride and a bit more. And he took the money and then he took what he thought he'd, what he needed, what he deserved, and he gave money back to us. And we were like, no, 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 like you keep it. And he refused to accept anything. He was very much like, no, this is enough. This is, you keep that. And like that's never ever happened to me where like a local has actually given us money back. And it just goes to I mean, yeah, I think mum has a huge affinity for the people that she grew up with, like the local
Mm.
Sudanese people. And actually, what was lovely was they grew up, their neighbors were a Syrian family. And they're Syrian Christian, but they pretty much grew up as two families. They were so, so close. And I think even when mum mom's family moved house, they moved house as well. So they kind of like literally followed each other around and for years on end, and they still kept in touch after mum and her family relocated to the UK. And when we went to visit that family, and you can just see the raw, like the affection after 31 years, hadn't changed. And it just goes to show like there was such a big gap, and it wasn't like they spoke all the time or anything like that. But when two families or people who've got history come together, no matter how many years have passed, you don't ever forget that emotional feeling. You know that quote that never you can forget how what people said or what people did, but you never forget how people made you feel. And that just witnessing like that reunion, I think was so moving. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. I do. I remember us going up in the car and mum seeing um her there just outside the house, and it was almost like mom was so overwhelmed that she was struggling to open the door, but she really wanted to get out and go and give her a hug, and like tears are rolling down her face. That was really, really emotional. Yeah, it was amazing. It's just that's it, it's gratitude, isn't it? Grateful to have seen that, witnessed that, and been to Sudan, and yeah, it's a beautiful country. And I just also just the food is great as well, like the bread, you know, the
Yeah,
bread from that bakery.
fresh bit bread.
Fresh
Bread.
bread.
No
It's the
such thing as
softest
like packet
bread.
loaves. It's
No,
like,
it's like a fresh baguette. It's the best baguette I've ever had from Sudan. Like it's from Sudan. It's just amazing. And kisra as well that we have with our
yeah,
others. So that's
which is like
the like
injera, like the
exactly
flat
like
flat
injera.
bread. Um,
Yeah. No, no,
I
it
think
was amazing.
I think I think also the stories when you grow up listening to all these stories, of when I was young, this and this happened and da 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 da. You kind of like formulate the story in your mind, right? Um, Actually, when you see it, when you see it for real with your own eyes, what these references were, it suddenly starts getting real, and you realize, like, your parents had a whole life before you, like they had this
Yeah.
whole other life they've lived, that's so different to our lives now, and it's almost like yeah, it seems like fiction when you're hearing these stories, but when you see it and you just realize that there'll be that part of their lives before, they obviously had us. It comes through in what they do, how they speak, like even like the way mom speaks English or her accent. Like I used to actually be like, oh, why doesn't my mom speak English like all the other moms? Like I'm sure that went through my mind when I was really, really young and immature.
Mm.
But now, even when I see women who've got, or anyone who's got an accent when they, in the way they speak English, or they speak broken English, I am just like in awe that you're speaking the language or you're trying to speak the language, and the way you speak that language or the way you speak English actually just tells me a story behind that. There's a story behind that, and there's a whole nother world and life beyond that. And I just get curious and I want to learn about it. So yeah,
Absolutely.
we
I
could
think
probably go
you
on.
summarized that really, really nicely. And I think this is why I think this is also a testament to your curiosity, but also your dedication and determination to get this going. And I think, like you said, there's so much we've learned from conversations with incredible people, whether it be elderly people in our community, our family members, our colleagues that we've come across in dentistry. And it's just so exciting hearing about their stories. It's inspiring. And I think the conversations we're going to have are going to be incredible.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Really, really looking forward to that. And I think my main kind of take home for anyone who's got this far, if you're listening, amazing, well done. Um,
Thanks.
is just to, if you come from a background, you know, you're growing up in a place, but you're a part of an ethnic minority or community, or you're mixed race, or you know, you've moved around a lot. I don't think we're defined necessarily. You don't need to put yourself in a box. I think we are all unique individuals, and we just need to embrace all elements of our heritage and our cultural roots, because they do shape us into who we are today in a way. And the second thing I'd love to tell anyone who's still listening is, if you have grandparents or elderly members of the family who've kind of gone through a journey of relocating continents or countries, speak to them, like have a conversation with them, try and capture if they remember their childhood, or you know, what caused them to leave, how did they leave, what was that journey like, you know, what were the challenges that they faced, how did they set up a new life, all of these questions, like try and capture it somehow, because I think it's super important to capture this information for the future generations, because they're going to be questioning, like, you know, how did we get here type thing.
And
Um,
also for ourselves, the amount we've learned from our parents' journeys, our grandparents' journeys, and often the qualities that I associate with our parents and grandparents are those of resilience, strength, bravery to undertake these massive journeys and undertakings, often with not very much, which we know, lots of humble
or
roots.
just no guarantee that
Yeah,
things
no
are gonna work.
guarantee. We've
Yeah.
you got humble roots, very humble roots, both sides. And it's just incredible what can be achieved. And the other thing that I would add is to encourage all our listeners also, if you ever get the opportunity, is go and visit the cities or towns where your parents or grandparents were raised or grew up if you can. I think that's always a really special thing to
Mhm.
do. And I'd
Yeah,
really strongly encourage it. But I'm so excited for our conversations. It's going to be sick.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Thank you.